Revolutionary greetings, comrades. We meet again on a red Sunday, the 27th of March 2022. Yesterday, the 26th of March 2022, Zimbabwe held by-elections across the country. You will recall that a number of members of parliament and councillors were recalled and some passed away, and then Zimbabwe had to delay holding the by-elections because of the pandemic. Our team is busy analyzing those results on what they mean. What we observed, though, is that the status quo remains. That is to say, Zimbabwe remains a two-party system. Either you are in ZANU-PF or you are in Triple C, which was previously MDC Alliance. But we will give you a detailed analysis on the results. As I'm saying that our team is busy working on that. We continue on this Red Sunday with the program of the Zimbabwe Communist Party. Today, we are looking into currency and banking. We'll do this briefly. We have said that those that want to read our document at their own time, they are free to send us their email addresses to this comment section. So just drop your email address. We will send you our document so that you'll be able to read on your own. Since the beginning of the Economic Structural Adjustment Program, ESAP, as noted earlier, there's been an utter lack of understanding by those in government of the relationship of money to production. In the last video, we said we need to put production first. We note that the introduction of a multi-currency system introduced in 2009 during the government of national unity or inclusive government, as it was known, following the signing of the political global agreement, or it was known as the Global Political Agreement, GPA, on the 15th of September 2008. In February 2009, the multi-currency regime was introduced. It indeed stabilized the economy, or there was an easing on the economic front. People were able to buy products from neighboring countries and sell in the multi-currency regime in Zimbabwe. So it cut off the queues, fuel queues that were the order of the day. Then we began to see our supermarkets having food products for the citizens of Zimbabwe. You will recall that in 2007, 2008, there was nothing in the shops. People were struggling. So the introduction of the multi-currency regime, it is that the ZCP advocates for the return of the multi-currency regime, but with the South African rand rather than the US dollar becoming the currency of reference. We did also discuss this question in our theoretical vanguard. I think it was 2019, where we said when we're discussing the currency crisis, that we need to bring or use the South African rand as a currency of reference. The ZANU-PF government continues to reject this, and we are going through a currency crisis in Zimbabwe. The Zimbabwe Communist Party is of the opinion that the refusal of government to implement a policy which would ease the situation for both business and the ordinary people is only in part a consequence of incompetence. The main reason for refusing to do the obvious is the involvement of senior politicians, RBZ officials and others in illegal money trading, which for a little effort puts a great deal of money into the hands of few at the expense of the many. It also undermines any attempt to improve production. When you get to our major cities in Zimbabwe, being it Bulawayo, Gweru, Masvingo, Harare, Mtare, it has now become a profession, so to speak. You have what you call Ospateleni, the money changers that are selling currency. And most of these are the runners for the corrupt officials at the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. And this is why the Zimbabwean government is refusing to join the Rand Union, so that we use the South African Rand as a currency of reference. We have given reasons in our theoretical journal Vanguard on why we think it is important that we use the Rand as a currency of reference. The first principle of banking in a restored Zimbabwe is that banking must serve productive industry and not be used to suck its lifeblood and eventually destroy it. Banking and accountants must be used to assess and regulate growing production. It is self-evident that banking should be well regulated and under strict government supervision. When we speak of regulation, some, particularly our liberal comrades, want everything just to be open. But the history of our banking system has taught us that without the regulation, we will always run into banking crisis. And also, what we raised, which I think it was an attacking by Collins Ndlovu, whom I said is not a communist, is that there's need to review the fees if one is to open a bank, because they are just out of this world. He did an analysis on the banking sector in the region, and we realized that our own fees are too high. Before dealing with the private banking sector, we must deal with the administration of the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, which we know has been at the center of corruption in the financial sector. We therefore propose an immediate investigation of all current RBZ employees, in particular the most senior ones. Those under suspicion must be immediately placed on suspension and replaced with the tried and trusted people of integrity from private sector banks in Zimbabwe, including Zimbabweans that have worked in the banking sector across the region and globally. 2 terms of new RBZ officials must be appointed. 2 teams, we're saying 2 teams, not 2 terms, 2 teams of new RBZ officials must be appointed. 1 team must keep the bank running. That is its task. And the other team is to make a deep forensic investigation into corruption and irregularities, because as we are saying that there's so much corruption that is underway at the RBZ. Unless this is attended to, we will not be able to resolve the banking crisis. With the assistance of law enforcement, stolen money must be recovered. Those found guilty of corruption must face hard sentences and have all their properties confiscated by the state. Corruption must be rooted out, and only those employees with a clean record should return to their posts, if indeed there are any, which we doubt very much. So there is a need of an overhaul in the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. But we are not saying that everyone is corrupt, but most senior officials at RBZ are corrupt, and we must deal with corruption at the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. The global meltdown of 2008 was wholly caused by the corrupt US banking system. The meltdown in Zimbabwe in 2004 was wholly caused by the corrupt Zimbabwean banking system. So there's that linkage. The global financial meltdown in 2008, it was caused by corruption in the banks in the United States of America. and our own corruption has caused so much crisis in the banking sector. All banking regulations enforced in Zimbabwe prior to the Economic Structure Adjustment Program in 1991 must be restored with immediate effect. In particular, the Duplam rule must be reintroduced and enforced. This forbids, even through compound interest becoming more than the original sum. Thus, under this rule, it is unlawful to try and to recover more than twice the amount of money originally loaned. Securitization of loans must be banned with immediate effect. Banks which flout the regulations must have their banking licenses revoked and their assets confiscated. There must be harsh laws against the buying and selling of currency. Those that live in South Africa, in Botswana, you will not see people standing in the street corners selling money. You will not get that. But in Zimbabwe, as I've said, it has become a profession that you stand in every street corner, people selling money, which obviously, as I said, these are the runners for the officials of the Reserve Bank and the politicians in Zimbabwe. Half of all gold produced in Zimbabwe must be kept in the country and go into the vaults of the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe in order to give strength to the currency. A strong government-owned national commercial bank must be established. Cooperative banks should be established by the people with government assistance. When we were discussing the banking crisis at the Congress, we had hoped that the BRICS Bank was going to play a critical role as an alternative to the World Bank. But with what is happening with the BRICS countries currently, as seen as given their division towards the imperialist war in Eastern Europe, we need to go back and do an analysis on the relevance of the BRICS Bank presently, on what it does. What we had said in 2019 at Congress was that we needed to establish close ties with the BRICS Bank as the only credible alternative internationally recognized banking system. But as was saying that a lot has happened since our first Congress. We need therefore to do an analysis on the BRICS Bank to an extent that we should reach a conclusion to say, is the BRICS Bank still an alternative to the World Bank as we had thought when it was established? In order to create a production-oriented banking system geared to the needs of national economic recovery, government must establish an expert commission to start and report back on banking so that a new and effective system can be established. Foreign as well as local experts need to be recruited onto that commission. These are some of the following issues that the commission must look into. The commission must study the Zimbabwe banking system prior to Economic Structure Adjustment Program. How was our bank system before we adopted ESAP? The banking system of former socialist countries must be studied. Let the commission study banks that were under the USSR, Yugoslavia, and Hungary. Those countries following the socialist path today. Study the banking system of Cuba, China, Vietnam, and the four biggest banks today in the world are from China. So it will be important for the commission to study those, and those countries which have successfully followed an autonomous growth strategy, that is Bolivia, Nicaragua, and Malaysia. So the Commission must study that. The third issue that we think the Commission must study is the recovery of Iceland after its banking meltdown. You remember that Iceland went through a banking crisis, but it is now on the road of it recovered. So we need our Commission to study that. The fourth area which the Commission must start is the Islamic Bank. It will be interesting to know more about the Islamic Bank. And fifth, cooperative banking. We need to look into Brazil and Bangladesh. And of course, as we're discussing that, we had hoped that the BRICS Bank was going to be an alternative to the World Bank. But again, we still need to study the BRICS Bank and other relatively progressive international banking organizations. The Commission should then make recommendations to the Zimbabwean people and the government on how the banking system should be reformed. Because it is important, because if we are talking of reforming or even transforming the banking system in Zimbabwe, it is important that we study others on how their banking system is and how the bank's system contributes to the growth of the economy. But as we have said, as we conclude, is that the key is to restore production. We need to ensure that farmers are supported. We must produce in our farms. We must support communal farmers. We must restore production. As you know, once we reorganize our agriculture, we will then be able to rebuild our secondary industries in cities. So it is important to do that. But to do so, we need to have to resolve the currency and the banking question. So there must be also stability in our banking system. So this, comrades, is our brief study on our Red Sunday. We hope that you will air your views on what you think about the currency and the banking question in Zimbabwe. And please assist us also with what is happening with the BRICS Bank at the moment. As we have said in this study, that BRICS countries are not united, as you know, around the question of Russia, Ukraine. So it is important also to study what is happening in the BRICS Bank. Please, comrades, continue subscribing to this YouTube channel, and we appreciate your views. Thank you so much. Amandla, comrades.